basically open the panel for discussion. If you want to be recognized, just raise your hand and we will come in and unmute you. In terms of the agenda, we are going to be running through a couple of items today, running through the legal aspects of the AGM to start. Once we complete that, we're going to move into some supplier member presentations, and then we will be basically going through a couple of updates by SBO staff, and then we will adjourn. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Alex. And to those on the call, on the webinar right now, good morning. It's very shortly after 10 a.m., 10:02 I call this annual general meeting of the members of the School Bus Association of Ontario, or SBO, to order. This being the first annual meeting of members of our amalgamated organization. Since this is our first annual meeting held electronically as well, I would like to begin with one mea culpa in advance. If there are technical issues, please bear with us. We're doing the best that we can. I now see that according to the webinar software, that we have 56 people attending this webinar this morning. It's a great testament to our organization that we have so many interested members. We appreciate all of you attending. I'd like to remind you, only people eligible to vote at this meeting are those officially named as the representative of a voting member. That's set out in the proxy registration form that you would have received a couple of days ago, or maybe as recently as this morning, from Ruth Ann Staples. Sorry, it would have come before 10 a.m. on June 22nd. Those who have been appointed representatives will have been sent an email this morning from Ruth Ann enclosing 2 ballots. If you believe you're the representative of a voting member and you did not receive those ballots by email, please check your spam folder now. If you still do not see the email, please go onto the chat function on your computer or email Ruth Ann and she'll look into it. We need to get this straightened out now, as you'll need to vote before the meeting is over in order for your vote to be counted. Those of you who can see the ballots, you can see from them that there are 3 matters on which you'll be asked to vote. The appointment of the auditors, a change in the number of directors, and the election of directors. Because it will take some time for you to vote and for our scrutineer, who is Ruth Ann Staples, to tally the votes, we're going to have you vote on 2 of the matters at the same time, and then we're going to delay the 3rd vote until we have the results of the first 2. In terms of when to vote, we encourage you to wait and hear the discussion about the motions before voting on them. But if you're already clear on what you'd like to do, you can vote immediately, that's fine. Your votes will count as long as they're received before the cutoff for voting on a motion occurs during the meeting. Please don't vote twice, as that will slow down the vote counting process. So let me repeat, each voting member was able to designate 1 person as its representative at this meeting. If you're that person, you should have received 2 ballots this morning from Ruth Ann. If you did not receive those ballots, please contact her now on the chat line or email her. Ruth Ann's email is rastaples, S-T-A-P-L-E-S, at schoolbusontario.ca. Again, R as in Roger, A as in Ann, Staples, S-T-A-P-L-E-S, at schoolbusontario.ca. If you have those ballots, you can cast them anytime before the end of the cutoff for voting on a motion occurs during this meeting, but you may want to wait until you hear the discussion on the motion first. Excuse me, one final thing. At this time, all of your microphones, as Alex mentioned, are muted, If you'd like to speak at the meeting, please raise your electronic hand, which you can access. And Alex, you've given them some coaching as to how to do this already, correct? Once I recognize you, or once Alex unmutes you, you may address the meeting. Alternatively, you can type your question and may submit it through the question function on your GoToWebinar toolbar. Alex, can you describe this process for us, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. So in accordance with your earlier technical item, I of course started on the wrong slide there. So apologies to everyone for skipping over this. This is what you should see on the right side of your screen. As Chris mentioned, you'll see the raise your hand function if you're an attendee, and then the mute unmute function. You will not be able to unmute yourself until we give you authorization to do so. So please just use the raise your hand function on the right side of your screen, and then we can allow you to unmute. For the panelists on the line who are obviously going to be presenting later on as a supplier member or a School Bus Ontario, you do have the option to mute and unmute yourself at any time, as well as activate or deactivate your webcam. So with that, Chris, I will turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. I hope that's clear for everyone. It's not hard to vote, and hopefully it goes off swimmingly. Now I'll go to the formal part of the meeting. I understand there are 59 people in attendance in person or by proxy today, representatives of voting members, and the meeting is therefore properly constituted. I'm pleased to welcome all other members and those affiliated with them. In accordance with bylaws of the corporation, notice of this annual meeting of members has been duly given once on May 27th and again on June 10th. I direct the secretary to attach a copy of each notice to the minutes of this meeting. We'll now move on to the financial statements. The members were provided with a copy of the corporation's audited financial statements and the auditor's report thereon for the fiscal year ended December 31, 2020, with their notice of meeting. These financial statements were previously approved by the board of directors. I now call upon Nick McCrae, the corporation's treasurer, to provide a report on the financial statements and to answer any questions that the members may have. Take it away, Nick.
Good morning, everybody, and hope everyone have a great day, and wishing you all a great last day of school for most of you, or if not tomorrow. I'll try and keep this as short as possible. You would have received a copy of our financials, I believe, at the end of May. That would have been sent out by Ruth Ann, and it's in our first year of two amalgamated associations. I think it's been a good year. We're in a cash positive position, and we're still, we're now into the second fiscal year, and we're going to be, we're still working on streamlining some services that we'll be able to find some synergies going forward. But all in all, it's been a good year. Our projections, we're on pace to meet our projections for this upcoming year. And if you'll see, we're in a cash positive balance of just over $1 million at the end of 2020. So I think it's showing that having the two associations together puts us in a much more financial, a much stronger financial position. Was there any questions to the financials, or any that people wanted to speak about?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. To the members, if there are questions, I'll remind you to raise your electronic hand, and once you're unmuted, you may address the meeting or type your question and submit it through the question function on your GoToWebinar toolbar. Alex, any raised hands to your?
Nope, seeing none at this time.
Well, that may be because a number of fallen asleep at their desks already, but nonetheless, we'll continue then and go on to our first motion of the day. As a reminder, we'll do 2 motions and then have a vote. Motion number 1, or sorry, the first item of business is that I propose the corporation reappoint Hilborn LLP as auditors of the corporation to hold office until the next annual meeting of the members, and authorize the directors of the corporation to fix the remuneration of Hilborn LLP for the ensuing year. May I have somebody move that motion? And please say your name and the name of the member they are representing as they move, and I'll ask for the same thing when I ask for a second. So, anybody want to move that motion?
Yeah, Nick McRae here from Roxborough West Lines, Chris.
Thank you very much, Nick. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Rob Murphy, Murphy Bus Lines.
Thank you, Rob. I now declare the motion open for discussion. If you have any comments or questions, please raise your electronic hand. Once recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. And of course, you can type your question if you need to or prefer to. Wait a few seconds for people to do one or the other of those 2 things. Okay, silence is golden. Seeing no other comments or questions, I declare the discussion on this matter closed. If this was an in-person meeting, I would now ask you to vote on the motion. However, as mentioned before, in order to expedite the voting process of the meeting, I'm going to wait and ask you to vote on this matter after we discuss the next order of business. So the next order of business is that the corporation increase the number of directors on the board from 12 to 14. Pursuant to the amalgamation agreement, the terms of the following 5 directors will come to an end at this meeting: Sherry Barker, Chris Harwood, Eric Hogeshers, Kevin Langs, and Troy Finney. To fill these vacancies, the board opened the nomination process at the end of May. Delighted, we received nominations from all of the incumbent directors, the name of the folks I just read, except for me as I become past president, taking the place of Frank Healy. We also received nominations from 3 new candidates: Jared Deneur, Teresa Matthews, and Chuck Sandrelli. Rather than turn away those willing to assist with the governance of the corporation, the board concluded that it would be in the best interest of the corporation to increase the size of the board from 12 to 14. To give effect to this, it will be necessary to pass a special resolution of the members to increase the number of directors to 14 directors, of which 13 will be elected individuals, and I will assume the role, as mentioned, of past president. May I have someone move that motion?
Go ahead, Chuck. You should be able to unmute yourself there.
I'll move the motion.
Very much, Chuck. May I have?
Go ahead, Greg. I'll unmute you there.
I second that. Greg Hammond,
Thank you.
Hammond Transportation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Greg. I now declare this motion open for discussion. If you have any comments or questions, please raise your electronic hand. I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but we'll unmute you so you can speak, or you can type a question into the question function on the GoToWebinar toolbar. I'll go quiet for a moment to allow that process to take place. Alex, are you seeing any raised hands?
I do not see any at this time, no.
Okay. All right, seeing no further hands raised or questions, I declare the motion on the matter closed. We'll now proceed to vote for the motion to appoint the auditor and the motion we just discussed, that being to increase the size of the board. In order to be approved, the motion regarding the auditor must be approved by 50% plus one of those voting on it, and the motion regarding the increase in the number of directors must be approved by 2/3 of those voting on it. We'll now provide, excuse me, a total of 10 minutes for representatives to complete and submit their ballots. Given that this may require your full attention, we'll delay the next item of business for 3 minutes, and hopefully most of you can get your ballots done in that period of time. But of course, during the next item of business, there'll be a further 7 minutes or so available for those who need a little bit more time. If you have questions regarding the process itself, please put them through the GoToWebinar toolbar. Representatives to whom ballots have been sent may now mark their ballots in respect of these motions if they have not already done so. That's a very nice 3-minute warning clock you've got there, Alex.
Thanks, Chris. It's amazing what you can learn on YouTube.
Maybe while members are voting, I'll take a little time to thank the current board for their service since the date of amalgamation. We spent countless hours meeting given COVID, all of it virtual. It was difficult but doable. Most particularly, the departing past president, Frank Healy, continually gave us sage advice and a marvelous perspective that the board, I'm certain, will miss, and hopefully I can at least make some way to being a stand-in for Frank. The next, you still have time to continue voting if you're not complete. That's fine. But what I'd like to do is to move on to the next item of business, which is a report on our Pride program. There's been lots of questions about that over COVID and whatnot. And therefore, I'd like to call upon Donna Shepherd to provide her report and answer any questions that members may have. Donna?
You may still be muted there. There you go.
Thanks, Alex. And thanks very much, Chris, and good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to give you an update on the Pride program. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we were restricted in running some programs, but we were able to do 4 regular 6-day programs between 2020 and 21. So we ran 4 and also 4 recertification programs. And with all that, we had very strict COVID protocol in place. Unfortunately, we had to cancel 11 programs and 6 recertification programs. So we do have somewhat of a backlog going into the summer. Based on the province's reopening Ontario plan, both programs can be offered by the end of this month, or end of July, sorry. So in response to that demand, we've scheduled 2 programs, 2 regular programs, and 4 recertification programs between late July and the end of August. And then, of course, we'll run additional programs in addition to those previously scheduled based on demand. Next week, all SBO members will receive an email update. All the programs will be confirmed, and at this point in time, the registration is still open. So if you have employees ready to take one of the programs and you haven't submitted your registration form, the link is on the slide shown before you, or of course contact Katie, and her email is there as well. So that's the update. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Give people a few seconds to raise their hand. And
Donna, it's Rob Murphy. I just want to, as far as the scheduling for the fall, because I'm sure that's on every member's mind, is a plan to reschedule instead of like running sessions for renew or recertification, or obviously brand new employees or potential employees twice a month, or have you got that far yet?
It all depends on the demand. So in August, we're running back-to-back programs to catch up with the backlog. And then as soon as we have a full understanding of what's required in the fall in terms of registrations received, we'll book it. So right now we have 1 booked in October, 1 in November, and 1 tentatively scheduled in December, but certainly we can add to those dates, again, based on demand.
And those ones that are booked will be the backlog?
The ones correct in August would be the backlog. So we've got 2 programs with 24 people backlog. So we will be starting to schedule them Monday, and then we'll go forward from there.
Thank you.
hey, folks, any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Donna. I appreciate the presentations, the presentation you made. We certainly are interested in utilizing Pride, I think, to the greatest extent possible, as such that we can have all the drivers we need and want for next September and going forward after that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to check on the status of our voting. I do not see anything from Ruth Ann Staples at this moment. So we will hold for a shade longer while she scurries to make those calculations, because the third item on which we have to vote is dependent on the second item we have to vote, that being the expansion of the board as a precursor to filling vacancies, and we want to know how many vacancies we have to fill, and that will be determined by the answer to the second motion. So we'll just hold a moment while we await Ruth Ann's answer as scrutineer. I guess we could hold an alternative vote, that being whether or not the Habs will represent Canada in the Stanley Cup this year. Anybody got any opinions on that while we're waiting? Oh, boy.
Chris, we did have one comment expressing significant support for the Habs with the Go Habs in the chat. So
Very good. Well, I'm pleased to indicate that of the 28 votes received at this meeting, all 28, i.e. unanimous support, was given to both motion number 1. So the folks at Hillborn will be popping the champagne corks as we speak, and motion number 2 to expand the size of the board. So thank you, folks, for voting on those motions. I just received that via text from Ruth Ann. Thank you, Ruth Ann, for supplying those. So now we move on to determining who will be on the board next year. Voting on the first 2 resolutions now closed, and is indicated in the notice of meeting materials. In order to be validly nominated to stand for election as a director at this COVID-style virtual meeting, nominations had to be received on or before 5 o'clock on Friday, June 4th. As mentioned, 7 individuals were duly nominated, and as there are 7 vacancies, I seek a motion to elect the following 7 individuals to hold office for a term expiring at the annual meeting of the corporation to be held in 2023. And those 7 are Sherry Barker of Parkhurst Transportation in Belleville, Jared Denur of KI Denur Blenheim Bus Limited, Blenheim, Ontario, Eric Hogeshers, Premier Bus Lines, Carleton Place, Ontario, Kevin Lang's Bus Lines Limited, Strathroy, Teresa Matthews, Voyago of London, Ontario, Troy Finney, First Student Canada in Burlington, Chuck Sandrelli, Valley Transportation in Pembroke. So those individuals will hold office with the following continuing directors: Brian Denny, Greg Hammond, Rob Murphy, Nick McCrae, Tom Jesersek, and Mark Hanna. And as mentioned, I'll continue as past president. May I have someone move that motion? And a reminder, your name and company.
go ahead, Mark Allen. You can unmute yourself.
Mark Allen, Renfrew County Bus Lines, move the motion.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a seconder for the motion?
And Frank?
Yes, Frank Healy, Healy Transportation, seconds the motion.
Thank you very much, Frank. We'll now move to discussion. If you have points to make, raise your electronic hand, unmute your microphone when recognized, or type your question into the GoToWebinar toolbar. I'll wait about 15 seconds or so for people to raise their hand or type really quickly. Alex, are you seeing any activity amongst the attendees of the webinar?
Not at this
Any-
time, no.
No raised hands, no questions. Okay. Seeing no further raised hands or questions, I declare the discussion on the matter closed. We'll now proceed to vote for the motion to elect these 7 individuals by acclamation. In order to be approved, the motion must be approved by 50% of those voting on it. We'll provide a little time for you to undertake that third vote. We'll delay the next item of business for a few minutes and then give you a little more time during the next matter of business to complete your voting. By all means, ask questions if you're experiencing technical difficulties or anything of that sort. So Alex has already started the clock. Thank you, Alex. Okay. I'd like to now call on our supplier members to introduce themselves to the members attending the meeting. Alex, could you do a bit of a roll call that will allow each supplier to identify themselves? I realize we didn't talk about this up front, but if you could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just bear with me here. So we do have a number of suppliers who are going to be presenting with us. Robert Meyer with Dinosaur. Robert, are you on the line with us?
I am, yes.
Okay, perfect. We'll have Patricia Turner with Gatekeeper presenting as well. Patricia, are you on the line with us?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone.
Perfect. Jason Liebert with Premier Bus Group. Are you here with us as well?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Jason. Mike Olds with Zonar.
I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
We will have a pre-recorded video from the Magnus Group as well. Maurice Gregoire from CMVTC MJG Technologies. Are you here with us this morning?
You bet. Good to go.
Perfect. Jeff Castle with School Bus Safety Company. Jeff, not seeing Jeff at the moment, but we'll come back to you. Tony Martins with Gerard and Bluebird.
Yes, I am here. Good morning.
Perfect. Jean Soulière with Bus Patrol.
I am here as well.
Thank you. Darren Young with Leeds Transit. Not seeing Darren at the moment, but we'll come back to him as well. And then
I'm here. Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone.
No worries, Darren. Sorry about that. And Nick Pekowski with Environize.
I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Perfect. So we've got everyone here. So with that, we're going to move into the actual member presentation. So I'm pleased to go ahead and turn it over to Robert Meyer with Dinosaur. Robert, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. Our technology creates hydrogen from water. It's a very simple process. It's called electrolysis. something that you would have done in grade 6 physics class or science class. We produce hydrogen on demand, and it's used in buses and school buses, highway vehicles, generating stations, mining equipment, underground and above ground. We've got quite an installed base, and we have some very, very good successes. Today, we're going to talk about the bus performances, and here I give 2 different examples, a little bit different formats depending on your flavor of what's important for you. On the left, you see the school bus results here. It's a 2015 Cummins diesel engine powered bus. I'm not a brand aficionado, so I can't tell you if it's a Bluebird or one other ones. You can see here some basic results though. 28.6 is its lifetime average of that's winter and summer. In the trials that we ran over 2 months of trials, simulating starts and stops. It was during the summer months when school was out, so there was only a driver on board, and we achieved a 15.6% reduction in fuel consumption. We also achieved a big reduction in our NOx, and the NOx is what goes into the DEF system. The reduction of 52% is significant by all stretches. It reduces the NOx going out the tailpipe as well. And it is important, of course, for school boards and for transit companies to achieve a reduction in the carbon, reduction in the pollution, and we can help with that. On the right-hand side, we show a transit bus. It is, we have a number of different transit trials underway right now, both large, medium, and small communities. This particular one was a 2017 Nova bus. You can see from the baseline, the blue line, which was taken as a measuring stick here in the early part of December of last year. And we are achieving some significant sort of results. The variations, depending on how you look at it, come from driver use and transit use, but also an adaptation of the engine controller to the reality of having hydrogen as part of its supply. Our system is easy to install. It's relatively inexpensive. ROI is 9 to 12 months. There's lots of variations for that, of course. And we're happy to take fleet orders, and we offer then a fleet discount for that. The installation itself is quite simple. Typically on this bus, you would have it behind the driver's door or the driver's side of the vehicle. There's a cabinet on the outside. The unit slips in there, really simple. There's a remote fill operation. The only consumption that you have is some electrical power from the battery, about 200 watts, and water, of course. And once the water is consumed, it needs to be refilled just as you would with fuel or for an oil level in the engine. Water, of course, is very cheap. It consumes, it operates for about 70 to 80 hours before water needs to be replenished. We have warning signals in there, and it's really quite a very simple operating system. This is our small unit, our HG2 unit. We have models that'll go up to 100-liter engine sizes, and we are working on some very small ones as well for passenger cars. So I just wanted to introduce our technology to you. There's a lot more information on our website, dynasert.com. There's a little video that explains the technology a bit better than I have on this few minutes that I have with you today. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Robert. So I just want to open it up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or type it in. Les, did you have a question?
Yeah, quick question. Just wondering about the water portion of it and how that works with our Canadian winters. How do we keep that water from freezing?
The water is the process is electrolysis. So we have electrolyte that's in the mixture with water. It's a 45% potassium hydroxide solution. At 45%, the solution freezes at -40. And at higher temperatures, it's not frozen, so it's not a problem. Typically, that's sufficient for our use at the moment.
Thanks, Robert. Mark, I don't know if your hand was up from earlier, if you do have a question as well. Okay.
No, I didn't have a question, thanks.
No worries. All right, thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. Very quickly, I just, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity.
No worries. Thanks for being here with us this morning. Just wanted to quickly note that we do have one more supplier member with us. So Tio Teodoro with Wajax. Welcome, Tio. I understand you're here on the line with us as well.
Yes, I am. Thank you for doing that.
No worries. Thanks for joining us this morning. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move to our next presenter, Patricia Turner with Gatekeeper.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Alex. I just want to thank you all. It's an absolute honor to be part of your group today. My name, as Alex mentioned, is Patricia Turner. I'm the Territory Manager for Eastern Canada here at Gatekeeper. I'd like to start just by giving a little bit of background about who Gatekeeper is. We're a Canadian-based company just outside of Vancouver in a town, Abbotsford, and we've been in business for over 21 years. Gatekeeper is a video data solutions provider for public transportation and school buses. We work closely with our customers to develop smart, connected technology solutions using an open architecture strategy. We've developed some onboard computers, as we're calling them now, for your buses, using a platform as a service for smart cities and intelligent transportation. We currently have 34,000 mobile data collectors circling North America with onboard digital recording, GPS, and multiple data points, video alarms, and analytics. We're able to connect wirelessly with our bidirectional data on moving buses using Wi-Fi and cellular connectivity. We also have incident reporting for video tampering alarms and incident flags. Our software is called Health Check, and that actually is kind of a software that allows you to monitor the health of the actual DVR and the cameras on board the actual school bus. Of course, our stop arm systems have video analytics for illegal school bus passing, which is a huge topic of conversation with our license plate capture ability, and also our ticket infraction management system, which is called TIMS. We also have and adding new data layers to our onboard collectors, including thermal cameras, contact tracing, passenger counter, and in the world of public transportation, we're doing bus lane infraction. One of our newest software platforms is called Clarity. It recognizes that school bus industries have their challenges with really having no single platform to bring routing and GPS and payroll data together. So with this, we've got flex scheduling, social distancing on buses, and hybrid schooling, contact tracing, with having, logistic challenges for bus operators and drivers, and of course the consortiums. It's been a very challenging year, obviously, with COVID and making sure that you cover off all the buses and transporting children. So we realized that the need to manage daily drivers and vehicle substitutions and route changes are the majority of bus contractors. They really just do it manually and use Excel-based paper process, which can be very time consuming. and sometimes extremely challenging for those groups in dispatch. So, excuse me, driver shortages are also a huge consideration with the inability to proactively track open routes. So Clarity enables you to actually move stuff around quite simply at the click of a fingertip and helps you walk through that. Some of the major things that Clarity will help out is the difficulties to monitor and track routes for on-time performance, the need to communicate with drivers, which allows you to communicate with messaging in real time, and verification that drivers adhere to work schedules and tracking actual hours to calculate overtime and whether or not they're late or early, or performance of bus time and the actual route. I'm going to keep it pretty short today. You know, we've got a lot of people that are presenting today, and I just want to thank you all. If you have any questions or I can assist you with anything in your school buses, please feel free to contact me via cell or email. And I've got one last slide. Alex, maybe if you could run this, and before I kind of say goodbye, Alex can show this video, but I wanted to kind of set it up first, is that it is a stop arm violation. It is in a very rainy and foggy day in Vancouver. And so you'll be able to see the stop arm and it actually capturing the violation on the actual school bus, and then the child passing the street after the car goes by. So again, I thank you very much all for your time, and Alex, I'll let you drive that next slide and video for me. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Patricia. So I'll just play the video here now. All right, thank you once again, Patricia. Appreciate you being with us here this morning again. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason Liebert with Premier Bus Group. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you very much, Alex. I just want to thank School Bus Ontario for hosting events like this, and we understand that times like this with COVID, we've lived in a different world and we've all had to adapt and make changes. And what I wanted to highlight here is the changes that we've made at Premier Bus Group to try to assist everyone in the organizations and our customers better. Is we've made a change with Albert Jansen being the operations manager. Many of you know him previously in the service aspect of things, but he's now moved up to run the entire department, and I think that'll be something beneficial for all parties and partners involved. Myself, I'm the bus sales representative for Western Ontario, as well as we have a new representative, Lynn Lafleur, for Eastern Ontario, who is both bilingual, who'll be able to help individuals in the in the Ottawa area, as well as we have Peter Naismith, who is our part sales representative for any inquiries throughout all of Ontario. Alex, if you'll be able to progress the slide for me, please. Thank you. Another thing I wanted to mention is Premier Bus Group is a representative for Thomas Built Bus, but we're also part of a larger network. We have multiple locations throughout Southern Ontario. We have Mississauga, Oshawa, Belleville, Hamilton, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls. I'm not aware if everyone does know, but we do have partnerships as well with other organizations to represent Thomas Bus on our behalf. So we have Team Truck Centers, which is located in Cambridge, London, Windsor, and Sarnia, as well as in Sutton, we have Prosser's Garage, who's a parts and service dealership, as well as Francis Truck Center outside of Ottawa. We also have moved our premier warehouse for parts from the Woodbridge area to our Mississauga location for a larger facility to help everyone involved. Premier Bus Group is an organization working with Thomas to look towards the future and a lot of the opportunities in which we see electrification as a possibility in the future, especially with government funding going forward as an opportunity. And with our network, we're hoping to be able to make sure that everyone is being able to be serviced in all that aspects. We look at electrification in Julie Bus as a opportunity for better environment, cleaner energy, as well as the ability to assist and help move towards the newer technologies. That's pretty much what I had today, and I want to thank everyone for being available and hearing us today. Thank you.
Jason, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. So thanks for that. With that, I'll move on to our next presenter, Mike Olds with Zonar. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Alex, and thanks everybody for this opportunity to have a few minutes with you. It has been difficult without trade shows and being able to cross the border. So this is the next best thing, and I think it's a great opportunity to connect with you guys and get you updated. Myself, I'm a Zonar vet of almost 10 years. I know many of you been in student transportation more than 30 years, a lot of that in the school bus routing software side. The Zonar, you know, GPS tracking, of course, we have the flagship electronic verified inspection reporting, paperless, and also verified because whoever's doing the inspection has to physically be within a few centimeters of a tag to prove they were there. It's all date and time stamped. Additionally, the Z-Pass for tracking the student ridership. You guys know we've been doing these things for a long time. Some of these apps are more important to the school boards and the consortiums, and some are more important to the operators. But we like to think there's something in it for everybody. As you guys know, we have a large presence in Ontario, and you may know, may not know, some of the bigger companies in student transportation put Zonar on all of their buses, not as a requirement of their customers, but because it makes sense and it's good business for them. Moving on a little bit now to what's new at Zonar. With the electronic verified inspection reporting and the Z-Pass system, these have become more important with COVID. With the Z-Pass for contact tracing, knowing who's on the bus at any point in time, who rode last Tuesday afternoon when Johnny ended up getting sick and may have infected others. That was actually a function that we've had for a long time, knowing who's on the bus, but it became a lot more relevant with COVID and knowing who was riding on a bus on any particular day. For the inspection piece, we've introduced a sanitization configuration. That's to verify that the drivers are doing their sanitizing of the vehicles every day. Another new thing with Zonar, and people have been asking for it for a long time, this is Zonar Verify. And what that does is provides real-time rider verification using a tablet on the bus. And essentially it tells the driver if a student is getting on the wrong bus or getting on or off at the wrong stop when the student scans their Z-Pass card. So we know what's going on, and we can do that in real time instead of, as we've been doing, only go back in time and figure out who is on. We have something new with bus planner integration. As we've been doing, Zonar data is pulled into bus planner, and a lot of you guys at the consortiums have been using that information in bus planner GPS to look at plan versus actual routes. With bus planner consuming Zonar speed data, they can use the speed tuner tool to calibrate the speed on the route planning map to produce more accurate time computing. And also they can consume the Z-Pass card data, knowing who actually rode, who the actual riders are, and determine an actual load at each stop. And with that data, they can optimize bus run loads of students, increase seating seat capacity utilization, and that ensures the buses are not half empty when they get to school or they're not overloaded. The new part is pulling bus planner data into Zonar for the Verify app onto the tablet. And what that allows us to do is pull in the plan route and plan rider data to feed Verify, and that's what we use to compare the students getting on the stop or getting on the bus if they're on the right bus or the right or wrong stop. The other thing with the Zonar tablet is it supports the bus planner turns application. Again, more technology people have been asking for years and years. Now it's here with the turn-by-turn app on the Zonar tablet. One other thing that's new, Cummins Connected Diagnostics and Cummins Advisor. It's a free service. Please take advantage of it for any of your vehicles with Cummins engines. This does a couple of things for you. It pulls engine data through Zonar's GPS unit, advises the vehicle owner what the code means and what to do about it. Additionally, with the Zonar OTA app, that enables the engine parameters to be updated over the air. You don't have to touch the bus. You don't have to bring it into the dealership 4 times a year. Saves time, saves money, free service. Want to mention a little bit about our new Zonar partners. We have Easy en Route and their dispatcher dashboard. This is perfect for operators because it pulls the Zonar GPS data. It also pulls in bus planners' planned route data. And what it does is allows users to know what's going on before getting phone calls from parents. The operators are now more proactive and less reactive and be able to provide a higher level of service. The main applications there are late start alerting, knowing much sooner when the bus didn't start on time, and being able to be more proactive on what to do, what to do about it. It has a plan versus actual route functionality to see one, the plan, and 2, the actual, the way the driver really drove it, and look for any variations, deviations, taking the long way in, etc. And also the other main app is on-time performance monitoring, knowing how the bus is doing against the schedule throughout the course of the day, having a driver dashboard, and being able to see in color codes buses that are on time. Those are not the ones you're worried about. The ones that are borderline early or late, and the ones that actually are late according to your own parameters you put in. And ultimately, the better tools mean better operator performance and better service they provide. And that's really what it's all about. The other one I want to mention, new partner-wise, is Bus Patrol. This is a really powerful tool provided by 2 industry leaders. It's all about safety. And the components are the Zonar hardware and applications, the Bus Patrol system, and cameras mounted on the side of the bus. Those cameras record violations when a vehicle passes a stop bus with the stop arm out and red lights flashing, and the cameras capture the license plate. And the coolest thing about this is that the violators and their violation money fund Bus Patrol and Zonar, not you. Jean Solier will be introducing himself shortly, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but this is an amazing opportunity. And for me, it's an amazing opportunity to reconnect with everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the update. So with that, I'm going to go to our next presenter, which is the Magnus Group. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here with us today. However, they do have a video that would like us to play a part of this. So thank you to the Magnus Group for sending that along. We appreciate your participation today. Next up, we have Maurice Gregoire with CMVTC MJG Technologies.
Oh,
and
thank you,
go
Alex.
ahead. No worries.
Okay, yeah, we've got a bit of a collage slide here. So basically, CMVTC is the video division of MJG Technologies. We specialize in developing, producing, prototyping, and testing school bus video technologies across Canada. We're a fully Canadian company located in Winnipeg, and this allows us to ship equally well to either coast or send out technicians if we have to. We developed our cross-safe cameras, license plate cameras, back in 2004 was our first design, and then we patented our final version at that time in 2010. So we've been at this for a very long time. Our 2021 LP cameras are pretty much second to none in the industry across North America in capturing valid license plate data in all sorts of lighting situations, all sorts of weather situations, what have you. Our video has been used for hit and run accident for vehicles besides school buses. We put these cameras on military vehicles, police, but primarily school buses. School buses are focus. One of our major mandates is more HD cameras on more buses for less budget. We are an educationally priced camera supplier for both on-bus cameras and of course our cross-safe license plate cameras. Now, cross-safe is more than just technology. The cross-safe program itself is an awareness through enforcement program, and this is designed to be violator sponsored, as we already heard that is going to be fairly popular in Ontario now. Finally, we've been lobbying for this since 2009 with our first pilot we ran in Toronto with the Toronto School Board in 2009 in coordination with Xerox. And this was to prove the number of drive-bys that were going unreported. One of the things about our technology is that we're able to record every single violation. And as part of this pilot, we were able to determine the actual number of violations that are being reported by the school division and the bus drivers, and the number of violations that are not. Unfortunately, we found only about 15 to 20% of all violations are actually being reported. Well, this type of a video solution and violation management program allows us to capture all violations. And at the end of the day, what we want to do, we want to hold those violators accountable. We want those violators to pay for the program. And ultimately, we want people to regain respect for the Stop School Bus. This is what we're all about. Currently, actually, Alex, if you can flip to the next slide real quick. There we go. Okay, so we got a bunch of programs happening here. First of all, on the top left-hand corner is our full cross-safe turnkey system. And this is we take care of everything. Tickets go to the violating vehicle owner and are being processed automatically to the courts. Very similar to red light cameras. Bus driver has nothing to do with that. School division has nothing to do with that except for receiving the checks from the violations as part of the program to sponsor school bus maintenance, what have you, cover the cost of the program. But on the top right-hand corner of that graphic is a news van. So the whole idea behind this is awareness through enforcement, which means this is educating the public to stop at Stop School Buses. The actual funding and the collecting of tickets, not so much that it's secondary, but the most important thing is we get these people to stop at the Stop School Bus. And this is awareness through enforcement, violator funded type of a program. What we've got currently besides that, and this is a very powerful program we actually developed in 2010, CrossSafe as a whole, again with Xerox, and now it's running with a company called Conduent. And in between that was ATS, another red light processing company. So we've been at the front end and the back end processing for over a decade. Currently, we are running the extended stop arm program, and I see some people here that we've already had discussions with. And this is an extended stop arm program pilot that we're working with Transport Canada. And again, we've been working with Transport Canada for many years, both on the camera side and the violation management side, and now this extended stop arm. The extended stop arm is designed to be a purely proactive stop, means stop, and you can see the picture at the bottom right or left-hand corner, the difference between the regular stop sign and an extended stop arm. Right now, we're up and we're making modifications or hoping to make modifications by running this pilot to the D250 to allow for this this device to be attached to the Canadian school buses. We found out recently that there's nothing preventing this ESA to be installed, as it meets the minimum requirements, the minimum distance requirements, and there is no maximum. So that was kind of news to us. So we're going to be working a little closer with that program. And as I said, we're working directly with Transport Canada. We're being partially funded by Transport Canada. Basically, this pilot allows us to put 20 ESAs on two per province across Canada, collect the data, process the data, and the three requirements required for Transport Canada is they want media coverage to bring respect back to the stop school bus. And this has been our mandate for 15 years, 16 years, ever since we started working with school bus video technologies, just to get people to stop. That's what we want. That's what we all want, I guess. What they do is they want to find the data which will prove, based on the over 1,000 arms that are installed in the USA, that violations will be reduced by over 95% by using the extended stop arm. I mean, how could it not? It's basically, you know, right in your face. But as well as stopping traffic, it increases the safety zone for the students. So as the students are walking out, they are able to see the traffic, because that entire lane is being blocked, or a portion of that lane is being blocked by that extra stop arm. So that increases the safety zone. On top of that, I should mention we do have, and we developed about 10 years ago, our CrossSafe PA, which is our proactive alarm, which basically it's a simple vehicle is in motion. It's not going to be stopping in time for the stop arm, and it gives a visible and audible warning to the student. Stop, don't cross the road, something's going to happen, vehicles are passing by, they're not stopping in time. We developed that about 10 years ago, but we were told by many of the divisions we wanted to prototype this, that they came back and they said, well, you know, we don't think it's a good idea to educate the students to depend on the technology, because they're bad enough right now with having their face in their phones. And we see this on video all the time, facing the phone, crossing the road, not paying attention. And to educate them to listen to the bus while they're doing that and assuming that the bus is going to tell them not to cross, we didn't think that was a good idea. So we decided, let's get into the ESA program, put the ESAs, the extended stop arms, on the school buses, educate both the students, stop the traffic, create an awareness program. And I'm past my 5 minutes, aren't I?
Thanks, Maurice. Do you have much?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the opportunity. And if you have questions, go to the website, contact us, and we'll give you, we got documents and everything, and I could talk about this for hours, as you've probably already noticed.
Thanks, Maurice. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. So we're going to move on to our next presenter, Jeff Castle with School Bus Safety Company. Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me, Alex?
We can, Jeff.
All right, I'll move forward. Yeah, Jeff Castle here. A lot of you know me. I run the School Bus Safety Company, where we have created training courses for school bus drivers, trainers, leaders, and students. We have a fairly big footprint in Canada, in that every location of STA, Stock, Attridge, Switzer Carty, Voyager, Lang's Bus Lines, Hammond Transportation, Martin School Bus, Kunkel Bus Lines, and Woobs Transit use our driver training course at every location. And I know a lot of people representing these companies are on this call. We actually have 6 training courses. The big one is the driver training course. Then we also have transporting students with special needs, bullying prevention, safety leadership, trainer certification, and bus garage safety. We've actually built our training course around a safety management system. And this is a process where you identify the hazards in what you do, you analyze them, and you devise actions to mitigate them. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? But most people don't do that. With other experts in the industry, we have identified 22 hazards in operating a school bus, and they're detailed on the right side of the poster you see on this page. And on the left are the reciprocal mitigating actions to remove or reduce these hazards. And everything we teach throughout our course is towards doing that. The course contains, the driver training course alone contains 25 training programs. We have chunked them. The writing's a little small, but they're summarized here on the bottom left-hand corner. And by far the most important are the first two: safety best practices and triple LC defensive driving. We call them our foundational programs, and everything we teach in those two programs flows in to all the other 23 remaining programs that are chunked into about the bus, driving situations, about the driver, about the students, and when all else fails. And then there's an extensive final exam. Very simple to understand, easy messages are what we deliver. It says it on the top of the poster. Our goal is to do it right the first time, every time, by removing or reducing risk with no unsafe behaviors. And when you plug in safety best practices, it starts at the beginning by asking your drivers who understands what safety is, who knows the definition of the word safety. And we've found very few people ever do. The dictionary definition is freedom from risk. If we're free from risk, we're safe. If we reduce risk, we're safer. And the definition of risk is the possibility of damage or injury. So to be safe, you need to be free from the possibility of damage or injury. And risk is created by, and these are very important words, the conscious and deliberate unsafe behavior of the drivers. That's so important, we should say it again. The conscious and deliberate unsafe behavior of the drivers. If you're only 2 seconds back when you should be 4, that was a conscious and deliberate unsafe behavior. You control the gas pedal, you control the brake. And there are 22 conscious and deliberate unsafe behavior that drivers perform that lead to every accident. And they're detailed on this poster. So this poster is shown throughout the program. It's comprehensive, it's systematic, it's integrated, and it does change driver behaviors. How do I say that? We have over 100 of the strongest testimonials you've ever read, many from Canada, where people rate it a 10 out of 10 in almost every instance. The course is capable of being delivered on DVD, thumb drive, or web-based. You've got your choice. And we believe that our training course far exceeds anything else in the industry. So I challenge people on this call who are not using our course, think about why all the people at the top I've named are doing so. So driver training course, special needs, bullying prevention, etc. We do have the most comprehensive training there is. Next slide, please, Alex. Now, here's a new idea we came up with. We said, you know, the big weakness in school bus safety is the children themselves, little buggers. We'd never have an accident if we didn't have any of them riding. How can we affect the behavior of these students so that they stay safe? And when I looked at the 123 child fatalities here in the USA over the last 10 years, in almost every instance, had the child acted safely, they would still be alive. Now, many things led to the tragedy, but if we can take out one of these many things, they live. So we've created education programs for the children, age appropriate, pre-K to grade 2, 3 to 5, 6 and above. Question is, who should deliver them? And that's been our challenge. Well, we believe the parents should deliver them. So we've loaded these training courses onto what we call a student portal. And we're happy for a school district to have access to this student portal, to email it to all the parents before the school year starts, it's coming up, and recommend that the parents take their child through these age appropriate programs. 1, we get to teach the parent what the safe procedures are because they don't know. And 2, we get the child to do so. The most important is pre-K to grade 2. We've just recreated them completely, both a real person training program and an animation. And we think you should present both. We have a program 3 to 5, 6 and above. So just imagine, we send to the school district a link to the student portal for 1 flat low annual cost. And I'll give you an example. For less than 25 buses, we only charge $1,475 US for the entire year for every parent to have access to all these 5 training programs. 25 to 50 buses, it's only $1,975, a very low cost. But this is a weakness in our industry. At the beginning of the year, the driver reads the practices from the front of the bus to the kids in the back. Who's paying attention? Who's going to remember them? Who's going to put them into practice? None. Now, some schools do also do the presentation, and these can be done by the school, but this is fairly revolutionary. The student portal link of all these programs, we give it to the school district, they email it to the parents, recommending the parents take their child through it. The parents present it to their own child, and they can do it multiple times a year if they like, because this link will be available 24/7, 365 days. So this is something new we've come up with. We're only just launching it. We already have a dozen school districts in the US using it, and it's going down very well indeed. And so, as I say, my presentation is about our driver training course, and we're already fairly big in Canada, and then this new idea of the student portal. Very, very low cost to really get to the kids, and it will demonstrate to the parents how much the school district does care about the safety of their kids. This is the answer to educating the kids that we've never had before. All from me, Alex.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you joining us this morning as well, and your update. So with that, I'll move to Tony Martins with Gerard and Bluebird. So go ahead, Tony.
Good morning. Good morning, panelists and attendees. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. Obviously, it's, as mentioned before, unfortunate that we have to meet under these conditions, and really can't wait for the next OTE and the next meeting that we can have in person. And now we're starting, of course, customer visits again as things are opening up. So our team is ready here to serve you. And again, I just wanted to mention a couple of things to you. We are, Bluebird and Microbird are the leaders in alternative fuels in North America, both in, or I should say, in gas, propane buses, and now, of course, big focus on electric. We at the present time have already taken some orders for electric EV Microbirds, EV Bluebirds as well. We're establishing a network of service centers throughout the Cummins network. That's already been established in Quebec, and we're working the same way here in Ontario to develop that. And again, we're here to service you in the best way we can, and we're here to start taking orders. I also wanted to maybe mention to you that in Quebec as well, the Montreal Transit have already taken a delivery of their first electric EV Microbird, and they're going to be transitioning to EV in all their buses. And they took delivery of their first one on June 22nd, and that's STM, which is the Montreal Transit System. And also, I don't know if any of you have heard or not, but there was a major announcement yesterday, June 23rd, from CIB, which is the Canada Infrastructure Bank, and they have put together an investment of $30 million in its first zero-emission school bus project. Now, this, from what I can read, right now is only in their investment right now is in BC, and it supports a purchase of 280 sustainable school buses. So obviously, we are working hard now to try to lobby different government groups to see how this could affect the rest of the country and not just BC. So I would obviously be open to having some discussions with any of you on this panel, and especially with the SBO delegates and so on, and board members, how we can best approach this and get some of this funding to Ontario as well, and not just BC. So yes, we're here again. As I said, we've got a dedicated team to service you in all your school bus needs. This year has certainly been a big challenge, especially with some of the RFP challenges that we had earlier this year. But we managed to get through it, and unfortunately, it has affected some people in dire circumstances. But we're here, and we're looking forward to school start and the opening of schools again. And we're ready to service your needs, and we do have inventory set up for the fall. So please reach out to your sales reps, and if not, you can also reach me directly here at Gerard and Bluebird in Brantford. Our toll-free number is 877-794-7670. And again, thank you for the opportunity, and really look forward to seeing some of your faces again very shortly, and looking forward to perhaps an in-face meeting soon and definitely a successful OTE in the spring of 22. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to join us this morning, of course. So next up, we have Jean Soulière with Bus Patrol. Jean, I believe I have a video to start with. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so we'll launch the video now, and then we'll come back to you here in a moment.
So thank you everyone for giving us the opportunity to present today. Bus Patrol will be launching Ontario's first fully automated school bus safety program on thousands of buses come this September. There'll be some exciting announcements across the province. Again, we're looking to really change behavior, and our partnership with the operators is really critical to that. I invite all of you to reach out to me, discuss how you can help contribute to the successful deployment of these programs. I'm sure your transportation consortiums have already talked to you or presented the fact that these programs are being rolled out, but we really think of the operators, work with the operators, and create wonderful opportunities for you guys both to save money, make money, and most importantly, manage the journey to and from school in the safest possible way for your kids. So thank you again. We appreciate the time, the partnership, and all the energy that everyone's put over the last 5 years to make this a reality in Ontario, and I look forward to serving all of you. Be well, everyone.
Thanks, John. Very much appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. So I'm going to move to our next presenter, Darren Young with Leeds Transit. Go ahead, Darren.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I know you're all wondering why Leeds Transit chose me to speak on their behalf, but we all know that Bruce would have kept it under 5 minutes, and Dave only speaks Northern Ontario, so it fell to me. So you've got me for the next couple of minutes. I will be brief. I just wanted to touch on a couple of milestones that got lost during the pandemic. Last year in 2020, Leeds Transit celebrated our 50th anniversary. 50 years of selling school buses in Ontario, pretty impressive. In 1970, Roy Backholm started Northeastern Bluebird, was renamed Leeds Transit in 78. We've been an international dealer, chassis dealer since 72, and in 2003, we were asked to become the first IC dealer in Canada. So now with Kelly's sons, Brendan and Aaron, working for the company, we do look forward to many more anniversaries. So it's been a great 50 years, 51 years. I've been at Leeds for 28. I am the junior salesman at 28 years in Ontario. We've traveled this journey with you all here and some of your parents and some of your grandparents. And we greatly appreciate the business you've given us over the past 51 years. We're a bus dealer and a bus dealer only. So we depend on all of you for our business to succeed. So we thank you very much each and every day. We thank you for your continued support. Last year and a half, of course, has been very difficult for all of us, but we do look forward to better times ahead. We were planning on something, celebrating this in Elgin last year, but obviously that couldn't be. So hopefully at some point during the new normal, we can recognize this achievement together. I look forward to that. As well in 2020, Leeds Transit was awarded the IC North American Dealer of the Year. It's a really big honor to win this prestigious award for the second time. There's a lot of really large corporate bus dealers in the US and throughout North America, and to have our family owned and operated company to be recognized as best in 2020 was a big thrill for us. And again, I thank you very much. We could not have achieved that honor without all of you in Ontario, as well as Quebec and the Maritimes. Some milestones that IC achieved over the past year. In Tulsa, they built their 200,000th bus. So that's pretty impressive from where we went back in 2004. A lot of you toured the plant way back in the early days, and it's changed quite a bit. It's a lot larger now, and look forward to some plant tours in the near future too with all of you. As well, IC delivered their first electric buses out in BC. The British Columbia School District purchased 18 IC electric buses through the Western Canada Bus, the IC dealer at West. Feedback so far from these buses has been excellent, and I believe we have a great electric bus to offer for our customers in the future. A couple things I want to touch on real quick for parts and service. Just a reminder that we do have our online parts ordering portal. If you haven't signed up for this, it's quick and easy. Just go to our website and request a log-on and password. There's hundreds of parts online right now, and we're always adding more parts as we grow. So check that out if you haven't already. You also might be receiving a notification from a product called IC360, which is a tool that allows for seamless communication between the service departments and you guys once the bus is brought in for service. IC360 basically keeps you updated on the status of your bus while it's in the shop. You'll get emails at various stages like diagnostics, part ordering, parts received, work completion. So the goal is to be, to have exceptional communication with you, the customer, and faster overall service is obviously the point. So that's it really for me. Thank you very much again for your support in business during these difficult times. I know that Bruce and Dave and I look forward to getting on the road and seeing you guys face to face. It's been far too long. I thank you very much for your time this morning. And on behalf of Leeds Transit, I wish you all well and stay safe. And just the last thing, drinks are on me in the bar after this meeting. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm sure everyone will take you up on that. So with that, I'm going to move to our last presenter, last but not least, Nick Pekoski with Environize. And Nick, I believe I'm going to start with your video. That's correct.
Yes, thank you so much. Please start with the video. All right.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you so much for getting that up there. I'm Nick Pekoski, Managing Director with Environize. First off, as I'm new to the organization and I am a parent of two kids who ride the bus under normal circumstances, I just want to say thank you to all of you for all you've done for many, many years to help keep our kids safe. It's really exciting for me to see the behind the scenes of an organization like this, and I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for having us on. Thank you for organizing this. Quickly running through a bit of a background. Hopefully that video worked for some of you guys. It was a little jammed up on my end, but I'm happy to send it out afterwards. But Environize, we're based in London, Ontario, 100% Canadian company, Canadian brand, and what we produce is a sustainable liquid solution, which is hypochlorous acid, HOCl, and an NaOH cleaner. So effectively what we want to introduce to you all is not only that we provide a safe, organic, Canadian-made solution for cleaning and disinfecting your buses, but we've also worked out a special price program with the association so that we're offering all members very competitive pricing regardless of how much they buy in volume. Our mission really is to reimagine clean. Again, as I said, our solution is organic, sustainable, and local, and it's a great alternative to alcohol and an alternative to harsh chemical cleaners. We also offer many purpose-built devices, and when I say purpose-built, what we're really talking about is the discharge on the micron size. So we discharge our particles at between a 1 and 10 micron. So we don't create wetted surfaces that are going to create downstream problems like mold and mildew. Everything we've done, as I say, is purpose built. And we want to support your association and members with exceptional pricing, as I was saying. So if you could go on to the next slide there. Just some of the companies that we're proudly servicing. I'd highlight in particular one of your members, Martin's, who were kind enough to also lend us a bus for that video. We are the supplier to the Maritime Bus and Coach Atlantic Corporation. We've done work with LCBO, Government of Manitoba, YMCA, Beer Store, Global Industrial, to name a few. So really what we're offering, again, is a liquid solution and the associated feed equipment based in the science of electrolyzed water. Hypochlorous acid is part of our natural body's defense system, so safe and effective. We're offering a real alternative. It's made in Canada, it's made in Ontario, sustainable, with ProCert certifying us as an organic input. And for the drivers and operators who are already doing so much, no additional PPE required. Safe for operators, riders and surfaces, 3 zeros on the SDS. So we just really welcome everybody to reach out to us. We'll certainly reach out to you if you're looking for an alternative to alcohol and harsh chemicals. We certainly hope to do business with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. Very much appreciate you joining us this morning and providing us your update. So folks, that concludes our supplier member presentations. If anyone is interested in more information, always be aware that all our supplier members are listed on the School Bus Ontario website. So you just find the supplier member page, and all the companies have links to their websites for more information. So we encourage folks to go ahead and pursue that avenue if you want more information, or of course to contact any of our speakers directly. With that, Chris, I'm going to turn it back to you to go from there.
Yep, just thank you, Alex, and thank you very much to all the supplier members who took the time to have what amounted to a convention in a box or a COVID virtual convention. It's helpful to see all the new developments out there. The next, just before we go on to some very important reports from people who I'll introduce separately, I just wanted to report that on motion number 3, the election of board members, all 7 of the board members were elected unanimously. So thank you very much, folks, for voting on motion number 3. Next, we have our reports from our SBO folks. We'll have Nancy Daigneault, Alex Bugea, who you've heard already, and Robert Monster, each present annual reports to you, so you can get a sense of the latest things that we're working on your behalf. So, but before I introduce her and let her start talking, I just want to remind the membership that Nancy has been with us only about 13 months to the day, and what an enormously helpful person she has been. As executive director, of course, Alex and Robert are wonderful at what they do as well, but what Nancy brought to us was a skill in lobbying and connections at Queen's Park and the ability to influence like we've never experienced before. So I'm going to introduce Nancy to you now, but if we were in a milieu where we could stand up and applaud, we should do so. Nancy, take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. It's actually Alex.
You're first?
No, actually all good. Live reporting. I'm being told that Nancy's actually taking a call on the lobbying front as we speak. So just to support your point about all the work she does for us. So what we're going to do is Robert and I will take it away now, and then hopefully we'll come back to Nancy if she's done doing her important work that she does for the association.
Very well. Thank you, Alex. Go ahead.
Perfect. So as Chris said, Robert and I have been working with School Bus Ontario for the 13 months that the new amalgamated association has been around. We're very much appreciative of the opportunity to work with all you folks. I know most of you know who we are, but I just wanted to provide a very brief opportunity to introduce us, our backgrounds, and what we do for the association. So you've heard me blab on so far today. My name's Alex Bergea. I've basically historically worked with the Ministry of Transportation. I joke, don't hold that against me. So I worked as an officer on road in the Windsor and London areas, conducting on-road enforcement as well as school bus inspections. And then I became an auditor in the Waterloo area for a number of years. Last component of my career was with the head office in St. Catharines, overseeing training and development of new officers, as well as overseeing the facility audit program for the province. So I do have a background in training various regulatory subjects, hours of service, trip inspection, all types of things. So always happy to help out the membership whenever needed to help navigate our wonderfully complex school bus safety rules. So like I said, I've been with School Bus Ontario for the 13 months and very much appreciate it so far. So Robert, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, it's Robert Monster. I as well used to work for the Ministry of Transportation. I started off there in the area of research, actually, fuel consumption, fuel systems and so forth. Then moved into fleet operations and then purchasing equipment for the maintenance operations for the ministry, and then eventually on to enforcement operations dealing with legislative and regulatory updates, representing the ministry on a number of different committees and so forth. And then now on School Bus Ontario, continuing to now represent the School Bus Ontario on from primarily a vehicle focused perspective on various different committees and so forth. And I look forward, it's been great working with SBO so far, and I look forward to continuing to do that, and we'll elaborate a little bit more on what we are doing and have done in the upcoming presentation here.
Thanks, Robert. So what we're going to do is, without taking too much time, we're just going to run through some highlights of some of the accomplishments the association has achieved over the past few months in the safety and legislation front. It goes without saying, we've heard it come up repeatedly. The pandemic obviously threw a wrench in pretty much everything, school bus operations and your day-to-day recruitment and retention of drivers included. So one of the things that we actively engaged on behalf of the association was with the government, with the Ministry of Transportation, to ensure that the various items that you would normally renew on a daily basis, your plates, your driver's licenses, CVORs, all that type of stuff, were extended. As much as I would love to take full credit for this, obviously it was a joint effort with other industry members to make sure that this was extended. But what we did do is make sure that school bus specific items weren't overlooked. So things like, temporary driver's licenses expiring after the SBDIC, making sure those were extended, that type of thing. I know everyone on this call is very familiar that sometimes school busing, because we are a niche component of the broader commercial vehicle industry, we end up with something that was focused on the truck industry or the larger bus industry. So making sure that we weren't forgotten was very important to us as we moved forward. One of the other items we worked with folks on behalf of the association was to ensure that everyone's DCP qualifications were extended. So, Donna provided her update around the PRIDE program difficulties. Obviously, that's impacted all of your operations with your essays, those of you who participate in DCP. So we've worked extensively to ensure that nobody gets left behind and that your essays retain their qualifications. In addition, we basically highlighted that the ministry had to evolve in terms of how they were permitting DCP organizations to conduct the training. So we ensured that there was a mechanism to allow virtual classrooms for DCP to make sure that you could continue to train and recruit your drivers for those of you who are in the DCP program. We also, for those of you who took advantage of this, actually negotiated an alternate upgrade option So folks who are able to do vision testing and their DCP program could actually upgrade drivers without them having to attend a drive test center. So this is something that we recognized, drive test can be a challenge at the best of times. So anytime we can eliminate that interaction to complete licensing upgrades, we want to do that. So we certainly worked extensively with the ministry to determine an alternate upgrade option where it could be done virtually. Obviously the big challenge for many of the members is the vision testing. But provided you were capable of doing your own vision testing, then that's something you could have taken advantage of. So for those of you who obviously aren't in the DCP program, we did extensively work with the ministry and drive test to ensure that we would prioritize school bus drivers. This was of great importance, particularly over last summer, following the school shutdown, following the shutdown of all the drive test centers. We were obviously the industry was in the phase where we're ramping up for the school year and reopening of school bus runs in September. So, the association really pushed hard to make sure that we would prioritize school bus drivers. So we were happy that drive test prioritized commercial class drivers. So when they initially reopened to resume testing, they were only open to commercial class road tests, including school bus folks. So that helped take some of the pressure off. For those of you who have, teenagers who are trying to get their Class G license, unfortunately, it's been a bit of a challenge. But for us in the industry, it was very important that we did continue to prioritize, our professional drivers who work for us every day, and that they had the ability to do the testing as they needed. One of the items we continue to offer for all the members, and we continue to take advantage of, is to help you folks navigate the licensing process. All of you know, obtaining a Class B or E license is the most complex of all the licenses. You've got all kinds of hoops to jump through, from medicals to SBDICs to criminal background checks, all these things that other classes of license don't have to deal with. And, I don't need to tell you that the process can get hung up inexplicably at any one of these points, where you're kind of sitting in a vortex and not knowing what's going on, and things are hung up. So, we've worked with you to help push through hundreds of Class B and E drivers to make sure that these, get upgraded, get renewed, get resolved in a timely manner, to make sure that we have as many bodies behind the seat as possible with the driver shortages we're experiencing. So, we encourage you to continue to reach out to us. If you need help, especially towards the end of August, we know it's all hands on deck towards that time for school startup. So, please don't hesitate to let us know, and we'll continue to support you as best we can to navigate this. Changing topics a little bit to the electronic logging devices. So this has been a long-standing topic since Transport Canada introduced a federal electronic logging device rule back in 2019. On the federal level, that was supposed to come into effect in June of this year. There's been some moratoriums put in place for federally regulated companies. But here in Ontario, we saw the opportunity to seek an exemption with the Ministry of Transportation. So what we did is basically lobbied with the Ministry of Transportation to ensure that within Ontario, ELD use would be exempted for school buses. And we're very pleased to say that thus far, that's the way it's going. So, we can't officially say that exemption is in place, but what we can say is basically the regulatory registry proposal, so the updates to the hours of service regulation, has been posted for comment. And what has been posted includes the school bus exemption. So later this week, we are actually going to be sending a link out and a communication to all of you to comment on the proposal. School Bus Ontario has already commented, and we will, highly encourage you to make sure your voice is heard to speak to the fact that, we want an ELD exemption for school buses in Ontario, so that they don't remove that from the proposal. Happy to say that piece is moving in the right direction for us here in Ontario. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Robert to give some updates on the vehicle side.
Hello. Hello again. So after many years of lobbying, which I was involved in for many years, SBO was now able to assist with the MPP Harris private members bill to adopt the amber red 8-lamp warning system. So Ontario will finally be moving to this system on July 1st, 2022. And I just would like to add something at this point. It's because we've gotten a lot of questions about it. It's important to realize that the conversion cannot happen until the summer of 2022, before that date. So the buses must remain on an all red system until the transition happens in starting on July 1st, 2022, and will be completed by the end of the summer. And next slide. And then, so what are we doing with regard to representing school bus industry on various forums? Myself, I'm vice chair on the D250 committee, which I've been on since 1998, and continue to represent the interests of School Bus Ontario. There's been we played a significant role on the D250 committee, and I currently am the vice chair of the committee. And we will be releasing a new version of the standard in the spring, which will be effective on November 1st, 2022. And also the SBO is also active on the CSA D409 committee, which regards standards for accessible vehicles. So that is also an important element of what we do as a school bus industry. Next slide. So beyond that, the SBO also participates in several other committees and groups to help guide future school bus safety endeavors to, again, ensure that school bus operations don't get forgotten. Transport Canada has had a task force in place since 2019 on school bus safety, which includes dealing with the issue of seatbelts on school buses. So we're actively involved in that and have been since the instigation of that task force. As well, there's a new working group, which is sort of a joint effort between Ministry of Transportation and Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, which is working on the Integrated Vehicle Emissions Inspection Program. So that is still in the works, and some of the details are still being worked out, but we are actively involved in that process, again, to make sure that the unique requirements for school bus operations are taken into account. And that's all I have, Alex, so back to you.
Thanks, Robert. Just we're going to wrap up here on our end from the safety and legislation side and turn it over to Nancy, who I understand will be back with us now. But just before I do, just some continuing files that we're continuing to work on your behalf. You know, we are aware, obviously, with all the discussion around seatbelts, one of the long-standing issues has been the driver responsibility laws here in Ontario, where we hold the driver legally responsible to ensure seatbelts are being worn by the students. So we've been very active on that front with the ministry in conjunction with the Ministry of Transportation, or sorry, the Transport Canada Task Force discussion on seatbelts to ensure that they consider the driver needs and that doesn't impact our driver retention pool. We continue to work on the retroactive fees for licensing around the extensions, getting clarity for the school bus industry when our vehicles were parked and how that's going to impact us. And we are actively seeking funding to support the amber red 8-lamp retrofit that Robert touched on earlier. So while that has come in through to come into effect in July, we've been active with the ministry to indicate that we feel it would be appropriate for them to help fund the changeover. So with that, Nancy, if you're with us, I will turn it over to you.
Yes, I am here. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, folks. I was on the phone with Minister Lecce's office. So sometimes when they call you, it's you don't get a hold of them very often. So it was very important that I picked up the phone. So if we could advance the slides, I will just give everybody a quick overview of some of the things that we've accomplished in the last year since I became executive director. And I want to thank the board and all of the membership for supporting me throughout this past year. It's been a fantastic ride. Really, really enjoyed myself. Certainly lots of issues that we're dealing with and no shortage of interesting things to deal with. One of the first things we did, we were told that we needed to do was obviously create a new website, which we're very happy. The new website is live. It went live in the fall of 2020. And if you didn't know that, it is schoolbusontario.ca. Really important because the old sites are no longer active You will find them online, the old OSBA site and the old SBO site, but they won't be able to give you any sort of, you won't be able to do any sort of transactions on them, like ordering logbooks or any of those other things that you would normally do. You're going to have to use the new schoolbusontario.ca website. We are also working on a members area, and that's going to be live very soon. That's going to give you access to the back end of the website, and you're going to be able to retrieve all of the old position papers, any issue that we wouldn't want the public to see. It will all be behind a password protected area. So newsletters, old position papers, anything from the previous two associations will be put in that password protected area, and that's going to be live very soon. So last fall, at the beginning of my tenure here at School Bus Ontario, very busy with COVID and getting everything started up again. I did approximately 24 media interviews in the fall of 2020, as the media was very interested to know what we were doing to make sure that everybody was going to be safe going back to school. So we had to do lots of French, English, radio and TV and newspaper interviews to talk about the cleaning and sanitizing, to talk about social distancing and all of the various other tactics that we were embarking upon to keep everybody safe. We are continuing with the media relations. All of those media interviews that we did last fall has really increased our profile, because now whenever there's a school bus issue, we get phone calls right away. And, you know, the reporters will call us up and say, oh, we got your name from so-and-so who interviewed you guys last fall, which is great. So now everybody knows that we are the School Bus Ontario people to call whenever there's a school bus issue in the news. We also did weekly webinars last fall between August and October of 2020. That was all COVID related. We were trying to make sure that everybody was staying in close communication with each other as we were heading into that fall season. There were a lot of questions. The rollout and the cleaning and sanitizing rules and public health rules were different in every jurisdiction in Ontario, which made it even more problematic and a little bit more convoluted as we rolled out the school year, but we got through it, and those webinars were very, very helpful. We did a webinar series this spring in lieu of the OTE. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we couldn't have an OTE, and of course, here we are doing an AGM via PowerPoint, which is not exactly the best option, but is the only option given where we are with COVID. In terms of government relations, we've been incredibly successful in penetrating the Conservative government in terms of creating relationships. Government relations is all about having relationships and making sure that you can leverage those relationships going forward, and that you can, you know, have the MPPs call you when there's an issue. We have met almost all of the Conservative caucus, some of the Liberals and NDP as well, but mainly concentrating on the government of power, the Conservatives. We have dealt with them on the DRP, RFPs, something called the STAG Committee, which is the Student Transportation Advisory Group Committee, which is studying all aspects of student transportation, including driver shortages, RFPs, the DRP, you name it, that student transportation group is studying it. And we've done a lot of work on that as well. We also had 2 roundtable events with MPP, and I'm happy to say that we've done so well with our government relations that we now have texting. We have personal texting now with a lot of the MPPs, which is fantastic, because whenever there's an issue and they need us, they can simply pick up their phones and text us, and we can do the same with them, which is fantastic. We secured the funding for cleaning and sanitizing and the cleaning products and other COVID expenses, which is fantastic. We met with Minister Lecce several times via Zoom and in person, and we secured the DRP for period 5, 6, and 7, and just most recently for 21-22. And the reason why this is really phenomenal is because we were told unequivocally that the DRP was going to finish at the end of June of this year, and that was it. We were not going to get a renewed DRP for 21-22. Unfortunate. They kept telling us that the DRP was meant to be temporary to deal with the minimum wage increase that Kathleen Wynne introduced, and we've pushed back really hard to say that if they had gotten rid of the DRP, that would have meant that a lot of drivers would not be coming back to work in the fall. So we hammered that home, and we got word very quickly this spring that they would renew it. So that's really good news. But we have to do more ongoing work with this, because we have to give the government another way of dealing with the DRP without them having to set up a very expensive and difficult system to administer. We've put forth several ideas on how they could, you know, probably divert that funding into the GSN. We've been working on that. We're going to see what that will come in the fall. Right now, the government is just dealing with opening up the economy once again, but toward the end of the summer, we're going to be looking at ramping up the DRP lobbying efforts. So next slide, please, Alex. Some of the other things that we were successful with, we negotiated with education to ensure school bus drivers would be part of the vaccine rollout at the same time as teachers and support staff. We considered that a very important step forward, because in the past, school bus drivers seem to always be forgotten in dealing with any sort of rollout with education. So we were very, very happy to hear that they were going to be put in the mix with the other school education workers. We negotiated with Solicitor General to get OPP assistance with the vulnerable sector search backlog back in September. I'm sure a lot of people here can remember that it was not an easy system, and there was a huge backlog. So we just called the Solicitor General's executive assistant, chief of staff, and said, listen, we really need some help here. And we had a point person in the OPP to help us deal with the backlog. We had a special word that we could use. They would retrieve our VSSs from their online system and put them to the front of the pile. We are continuing work with MTO on Pride rewrite. The rewrite was due a couple of years ago. For several unknown reasons, the rewrite never got accomplished. That is being done now, and we're working on it to rewrite it as per the MTO guidelines. We did do a cabinet submission on the GSN back in earlier this year in February, I think it was, of 2021 pre-budget. I appeared before the committee on that. And as I had mentioned earlier, we have an ongoing text relationship with 5 MPPs, and that's a fantastic thing. And we just got word that the driver shortage issue is going to be examined by the STAG committee over the course of the next couple of months. So that's also good news. Joining me as well here, I think Rob Murphy's online, and I think you wanted to share some words, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy, and glad you were able to make the presentation. She sent me a text, which I was watching the slide deck, and said, can I do their presentation for her? But obviously, she was able to get back on. And as she said, when we get calls from education, especially Lecce's office or senior advisors, we take the call right away. Chris mentioned way back almost 2 hours ago, I guess it was, some nice words about Frank Healy. And as you know, Frank was our past president this past year after forming SBO. And I just want to also say a few words about Frank. Most of you know that Frank's part-time job on the weekends is a registered nurse in the corrections facility up in the Smith Falls area. And Frank brings a lot of experience from that work up in that area, and he's got some stories that would certainly make the back of your hair stand up. But I won't go into that. But Frank's been a great support, as Chris said, over the years and the formation of SBO. So I want to thank Frank for that. The next one on my list, who I believe after today, Chris, or the votes are all counted in, Chris Harwood becomes past president. And I still remember back before we had formed the association, we were back and forth between the two, and Chris and I would have probably bi-weekly calls about how we were going to go forward. And once we went forward, I want to say Chris has continued to support each and every one of our members and our supplier members and the entire industry. And we would, after hiring Nancy, we would have every Tuesday morning calls that continued for probably 2 or 3 months to get her up to speed. But obviously, as you've heard this morning, that it didn't take long to get Nancy Daniel up to speed. But Chris, on behalf of the board and on behalf of the membership, if we could stand up and give you a round of applause for your extra work and the hours that you put in on behalf of everyone, we thank you. And I'll echo what Chris said briefly about our executive director and Nancy Daniel. Nancy has come on board and got up to speed probably within a month or within a couple of weeks, and she's got a bit of fire in her eyes when she talks to government, as I'm sure most of you know by now. And we want to really just thank her, and also if we could have a round of applause, we would for Nancy. We're not done yet. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, I guess you should say, and we're looking forward to more communication for our membership, and we're looking forward to continuing communication with the Ministry of Education and also our MPPs, who we've continued to be in constant contact, sometimes twice or 2 times or 2 or 3 times a week, I should say. And there's days where they probably turn their phones off when they're at Queen's Park and they see a text from Nancy or a text from me. But that's I want you all to realize that's really pushed the bar on some of our issues. So I've probably said too much. It's 12:08. I guess I should turn it back to Alex or President Harwood.
Thanks, Rob. So Chris, I think back to you.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Those are kind words, and I'm honored to have served. I will continue to do so. But now I will serve this group by formally ending the meeting. Thank you all for being available to us for the last 2 hours and 8 minutes. And we look forward when we can put this virtual stuff in the dustbin and get face-to-face, because we know that that's a heck of a lot better than what we can do online, though I must thank Alex for his expertise in the area, especially the 3-minute timer. Alex, I'd like 4.5 because I like my boiled eggs just about that long. And so if you can show me the YouTube clip, I'd appreciate it. I think that's all we've got. Take care, folks, and thank you. Have I missed anything, Alex, or Nancy, or Robert, or Rob?
No, I will say that's great.
Yeah, I will say one last thing. I wish Rob Murphy all the best, as Nancy intimated, and Robert and Alex did as well. We've got irons in the fire, and don't burn your fingers on those irons in the fire, Rob. I'll be there to hand you a pair of gloves if you need them.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, take care, everybody. Thank you very much. Goodbye.